FasTrax webinar. This is a weekly event we do every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern, where we go over various topics of FasTrax software. You can see a list of these events if you go to our website, go ftx.com, choose the FTX Lifeline tab at the top of the page. Scroll down just a bit and look for that webinar button. Choose that. This will carry to our webinar page where you can view all of our previous webinars, where you can choose the recording button, and that will allow you to view the recording. Choose the Register Now button to register for upcoming webinars, as well as choose the Subscribe to Get Notified button to get notified of upcoming webinars and other FasTrax news. Today we're going to be going over a very underutilized feature of the software that everyone has access to, called remote sales. This is a fantastic way, especially if you're utilizing the handheld, to preemptively ring up your customers and then resume those transactions, saving that scanning time at the register itself. You're still scanning products, so you're going to keep that item level inventory and making sure that you're actually scanning that barcode using the handheld. You can also punch this in manually via Director. And if you have a scanner in keyboard wedge mode, you can also scan those products in Director. The benefit here, though, is you could have, a floating person, whether it be a salesman or just someone out on the floor to help, work with customers, preemptively ring those customers up, and then the cashier just simply resumes that transaction, that remote sale at the register, and then completes the transaction, saving both time for the customer and time for the next person in line. The first method we're going to look at is going to be the method in Director. So I'm going to go to Director here. I'm already logged in. I'm going to go to my Pricebook module, and I'm going to go to the Remote Sales tab. Now this screen here will only be visible, these buttons will only be visible and usable if you're in store mode. So if you're at a corporate environment, the remote sales cannot be used. It's only used at store level. Now next, you need to make sure that you as the user who's logging into Director has permissions to view the Pricebook module and view and write in the remote sales area. If you have any questions on the permissions, I'd suggest you watch the permissions webinar that was recently done, where there was a major permission revamp, and it goes over all the detail of that. So to key in a remote cell in Director, we're going to choose the New Remote Cell button. This is where we're going to then enter in a description. Now this could be the person's name, a description of the person, whatever you want to use. I'm just going to use my name here. I'm going to choose OK. And then at this point, this is essentially the transaction itself. So I'm going to add an item. And then that brings up the Find Item window. You can enter in a UPC number, a description, a vendor part, or just do a wildcard search for everywhere. I'm going to enter in a shortened UPC that will expand out. Choose the Find button, and that will then find that item. I can see the detail of that item. That I have 3 on hand. I'm going to go ahead and choose OK. And then it's going to ask, how many do I want to sell? So I could do 2 here and choose OK. And then at this point, whenever I close this out, this sale is ready to be resumed in the POS itself. It's essentially a remote sale. Now, some areas you may use to key this in on Director would be like for phone orders. You have a customer that calls in. They want to hold an item that you have in stock. They can do a phone order, come into the store, pay for it, and pick it up, and that way they're guaranteed to have that set aside for them. Or it could be another store-to-store, kind of like you have a customer comes into a store, that store is out of stock, but they call a store down the road. They key on that remote sale with that customer's name, and that way that customer is guaranteed the product, and the business is keeping that customer as a customer and making that sale. So I've got this cell entered in. I'm now going to go to the POS, and we're going to see how to resume that cell. So I'm going to log in here. I'm going to open my POS. Now, the remote sales, they're going to function identically to a suspended sale. So to pick up that transaction, all I as the cashier have to do is choose the Resume Sale button. I'm going to see that sale description that I keyed in, and I'm going to see the items that are on that transaction. I can just simply resume that transaction, do any kind of age verification that's required, and then tender the transaction out. Now, if this was a larger transaction with many items on there, I just saved a whole lot of time. I don't have to scan every single product. I can just visually verify that the person who entered that remote sale in indeed has all the items, and then tender that transaction out. So this is a big, big time saver. Now let's look at this on the other side. Let's look at the Android side. On the Android handheld, you can also do a remote sale. So I'm going to log into the application here. And I'm going to log in as my user. And I'm going to make sure that I can see the remote sales permission, which I can. There's that remote sales module. Once again, if you need to see detail on the permissions required to do this, I'd suggest you watch the permissions webinar as we go over all those details. So I'm going to choose the remote sale button here. And then here's where it's going to say there's no remote sales found. I can start a new one. So I'm going to choose that red plus button. I can enter in a sale, name, description. Choose OK. And then here's where I can start scanning those products. And I can scan using the built-in scanner on the handheld. If I have a Bluetooth scanner, I can use the Bluetooth scanner. I can use the camera in the top right corner, or I can just use the hourglass to search. I'm going to sell one of these. I'm going to choose save. And at this point, this remote sale, it's done. I can just simply choose the back button on my handheld. And then I can now on the point of sale side, open my point of sale up and then resume that sale. And it's going to be sitting there waiting for me. So this remote sale feature works wonderfully with handheld devices. This would be a fantastic way, a very modern way of having a representative out on the floor working with and helping customers, and then preemptively scanning and getting them ready to tender that transaction out, saving them time and saving the cashier time. Going to finish this transaction out. And that's all there is to it. Remote sales, as you can see, is a very simple, very intuitive, and a very useful way to help customers save time on the floor and save customers time in the line. I hope everybody learned something new today. Once again, you can see these webinars at our website, goftx.com. Choose the FTX Lifeline tab at the top of the page. Look for that webinar button, choose that webinar button, and then that will show you all of our previous webinars that are recorded, upcoming webinars that you can register for, and then the option to sign up for the newsletter. If you have any questions on this topic, let us know at websupport@FasTraxPOS.com. And if you have any suggestions for future webinar topics, let us know at info@goftx.com. Thank you and have a great weekend.